When you dance the dance of another, you make yourself in the image of its creator.
Suspiria is a remake of the 1977 Italian horror of the same name. Directed by the Call Me By Your Name guy, the film is about an American going to a Berlin dance academy which, unbeknownst to her, is being run by witches. That was kind of a twist in the original, but this one's pretty upfront about it. In fact, let's actually talk about that a little. The original Suspiria was a fun, spooky time with a lavish production design and a nice horror atmosphere, while also being really freaking weird too.
Sarah, I once read that names which begin with the letter S are the names of snakes.
This remake, on the other hand, does something that I don't often see horror remakes do, taking a different approach. The original looked very bright and colorful. This remake looks very bleak and dark. The original didn't really put a whole lot of emphasis on its time period. The remake lets you know damn well that it's set during the German autumn of 1977. The original felt like a fever dream. The remake felt like a fever dream. So even though the remake uses the original as its blueprints, the two take such different approaches that they almost feel dissimilar. And I'm not trying to put that against it. No, on the contrary, the new Suspiria is a really good movie. The plot here is a lot more interesting, as we now follow the perspective of the witches and the old psychiatrist. The wintry backdrop makes you feel the coldness and uncertainty of the environment. Before going in, I was a little concerned by this movie's 152-minute runtime, as I've had some issues with movies this year that could have been cut shorter, and a few that could have been longer. But this surprisingly kept my engagement the whole way through, even sort of blowing by, which is pretty impressive. All the performances are great, but a huge standout goes to Tilda Swinton. She's known for appearing in a variety of things, often looking drastically different, or playing more than one character. In this one, she takes those two trademarks of hers and goes full force on them in ways in which all I've gotta say is that the makeup on this should win an Oscar, and so should she. The violence and gore was pretty fun to watch. It has a great soundtrack brought to us by Tom York of Radiohead. There's some really nice dance choreography throughout. To put a damper on this fire of praise, I have some story issues, particularly with the ending. To keep the spoilers as vague and non-specific as possible, I didn't understand that one big twist. I didn't understand why that one witch killed herself. What was with her mother? I'm not really sure. But besides that, check this movie out for yourself. Bring the kids. 8 out of 10.
3 months ago, I was cutting grass in my front yard. And the mailman shows up with a letter from the army. Now I'm here.
Overlord is a new J.J. Abrams produced film that I thought they announced was going to be a Cloverfield movie, but apparently it isn't, because who'd want to be involved with Cloverfield at this point? It's set in 1944, where a group of soldiers land on Nazi-occupied France, only to find that they are performing superhuman experiments. It's up to America's troops to save the day from those rotty Nazi zombies. I have a feeling that the studio didn't have much of an idea on how to market this movie, because the trailers play up this heavy metal theme. Only for the actual film to open with like a 1940s title screen and copyright icon. I guess Nazi horror is a bit of a tough sell these days. Anyway, the film was alright. I was entertained by it. It had issues, but I don't regret going out to see it. The direction and action sequences were both pretty solid. This is the first big film from a newbie director, and I think he does show some potential. That opening part with the parachute was pretty damn intense. I like the grossness of the visual effects. I never felt bored or altogether uninterested, and the climax was a lot of fun. But I think the problem I have is that all the characters felt kinda two-dimensional. The acting on all of them is really good, like the lead really does carry this film. But him and everyone else feels like they kind of have one shtick. Main character is concerned soldier who wants to do right. That guy is a stern leader type. That guy has a camera. That guy is a wise-ass New Yorker, and I honestly found him kind of annoying. The French people are innocent, stuck in a bad situation. Like, it got to a point where when one of the soldiers died, I forgot who it was, and they just felt kind of nondescript to me. Another bigger problem is that every horror aspect that happens here is synchronized with a jump scare sound. I fucking hate the jump scare sound. It is one of the most lazy ways possible to get a reactionary response out of your audience. I had the same issue with, like, the It movie as well. You have a good atmosphere here, movie. Why did you feel the need to add a sound to it? So yeah, it's not great, but that also doesn't feel like that was the intention of the filmmaker either. I felt like they wanted to make an entertaining B-movie, for in which case, it succeeds in that. I'd say it's worth a watch, thus rewarding Z a 6 out of 10.
This'll tell the tale.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is the new Coen Brothers Western anthology on Netflix. It tells 6 different stories focusing on several themes, with the most prominent being death. I can even say it teaches you a million ways to die in the West. I'm so sorry. Apparently this was originally planned to be a TV show, but I guess they decided it worked better as a movie. Well, even though it could still work as several episodes combined together, I'm not really gonna argue that logic because, well, it's the Coen Brothers. And it's also a really good movie. A lot of it for the same reasons that you could praise almost any of their movies for. It's well directed, it's beautifully shot, every actor brings a lot into their roles, it's generally engaging. It's like they're good filmmakers or something. What I found interesting is that the first story they start out with, which is also the titular one, was the funniest and most cheerful out of them all, cause the rest are pretty melancholy. I really love the first 4 stories. They're all really interesting and surprising to unfold. And while the other 2 are still really solid, I did have some issues with them both. The former I felt went on a little long and could have been cut down, and the latter just took a while to pick up for me. Aside from those technically nitpicks, I highly recommend it, and that's not surprising cause like I said, it's goddamn Coen Brothers. If you have Netflix, you don't have much of an excuse to not watch it, so check it out soon. 8 out of 10.
Your husband stole $2 million from me. This is about my life! And because it's about my life, it now becomes about yours.
Widows is a new film from 12 Years a Slave director Steve McQueen and Gone Girl writer Gilligan's Island. It tells the story about the widows of these 4 thieves who stole money from a corrupt politician, leading them to clean up their husband's messes. Apparently it was based on a TV show? Didn't know that. I was genuinely looking forward to seeing this. I love the work that these 2 make, and judging this off of those, it isn't quite as great, but it's up there, it's close. It's an immensely engaging story, led by a slew of great performances from Viola Davis and Liam Neeson and Michelle Rodriguez and Robert Duvall, the biggest standout possibly being Brian Tyree Henry, who I'm familiar with as Paperboy from Atlanta. He's this politician crime boss who looms around with real intimidation and menace. If he were Paperboy, he'd try to act intimidating, but would come off as kind of an idiot. Props also to Daniel Kaluuya for the same reasons, though he's not exactly a paperboy. Even though I would definitely not call this an action movie, what few scenes there are that have actiony elements, which are really just 2 car chases, they were really well pulled off. Who knew that Mr. McQueen would have a bit of bay in him? There are some interesting one-take shots, not to like a Birdman or 12 Years a Slave level, but in like a, oh, that must have took a long time to rehearse level. Alright, all long-take shots are like that, but hopefully you get where I'm coming from. I feel like the trailers are kinda misleading since they're making it seem like Cynthia Erivo is one of the widows, where in the film, the actual 4th widow is left in the dark about the scheme due to having a baby, and Erivo's character is, at best, a major supporting role. So because of this, he doesn't feel as developed of a character compared to the others. In fact, on a similar note, I wish Liam Neeson's character was explored more. Like, what's his story? Also, Colin Farrell's accent sounds kinda silly sometimes. But, like I said, as a heist thriller, it's an engaging one. You can tell when real talent is behind and in front of a camera, and I'm disappointed that it's not doing well at the box office behind J.K. Rowling doesn't know how to write a movie. Give this some money, while I give it an 8 out of 10.